Welcome back into the Sports Talk ATL Weekend Edition. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex. Lord, the NFL Draft is just a couple of months away, and what do the Falcons need more than anybody? It's the same thing they needed for the last 2 decades. It's my favorite stat because I've been able to use it every single year since I've been working in sports. The Falcons have not finished in the top 10 of sacks since 2004, and you know how I know it just off easy? I didn't have to do any research. It's the same stat every single year because they always finish outside the top 10.
You need to draft pass rushers. We've been asking. Terry Fondo's been here. This will be his 5th draft. In 4 past drafts, he has never even taken a defender in the first round, let alone a pass rusher. It is beyond time to take a pass rusher. And our own DJ Shockley talked to Raheem Morris and Terry Fondo about the pass rush and a little bit more.
Now, all the top players in this year's draft will be right here in Indianapolis for the NFL Scouting Combine. And just like the Falcons, 31 other teams will also be looking to get an elite pass rusher. Now, the Falcons have had to answer that question for the last couple years. Can they find a guy that can get to the quarterback? Now, this draft is filled with tons of guys who can get off the edge and find ways to get that quarterback on the ground. I had a chance today to sit down with the Falcons brass and ask them exactly what it takes and what they like about an elite pass rusher in this draft.
Well, Terry does a great job of talking about pressure players because they can come from anywhere. And you better got to find guys that can absolutely get after the passer, whether it's power, whether it's speed, whether it's length. Well, there's guys that got this freaky style of movement, right? And then you got all type of stuff that we can add it to, right? We've accumulated a couple guys over the last couple of years that people forget about. And when you talk about the last couple of years of Terry's drafts, we talk about Trice, you talk about Rook, you're talking about Dorless, and you're talking about Caden Ellis, you're talking about some of these people that we can add to it right now, whether it be free agency or the draft.
Falcons are also having to answer the question about the lack of production for their former first-round pick in Kyle Pitts. Pitts had his 2nd lowest production when it comes to catches and yards in 2024. I asked GM Terry Fondo, how do you help Pitts get back to his rookie form?
Part of those meetings is us asking, okay, what do you need? What do you need to? Where do we need to help you improve? And so we know with Kyle or anybody else, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can. And when you pick a guy that high, there's an unrealistic expectation, all those things. But at the end of the day, we want Kyle to make sure he's doing everything he can do to get the best version of himself so he can help this team win, and we know he's going to do that.
And right there at that podium right there, some of those elite pass rushers will have the chance to speak and tell why they should be a guy drafted in the first round for the Atlanta Falcons. And sources close to the organization tell me they really enjoy talking to those guys that wear a G on the helmet. Could this possibly be the first time in a long time the Falcons go out and draft a Georgia Bulldog in the first round? From Indianapolis in the NFL Scouting Combine, DJ Shockley, Fox 5 Sports.
Alex, let's talk about some of those Georgia Bulldogs. There's 3 projected to go in the first round, possibly a couple that are going to be available at the 15th pick for the Atlanta Falcons. There's Jalen Walker, Mykel Williams, 2 pass rushers, which they just discussed and we just discussed, is the biggest need for the Atlanta Falcons entering this offseason. There's also Malachi Starks, a safety, corner, hybrid, got some versatility there. That's also a huge need for the Atlanta Falcons.
Jalen Walker, I'll tell you one, that guy absolutely wrecked both of those Texas games. I mean, and then you got Malachi Starks right here with an unbelievable interception. When I see plays like that, that is the kind of stuff that the Falcons have been missing. Playmaking types. All 3 of these guys, Mykel Williams, Jalen Walker, and Malachi Starks, are playmakers. The Falcons could not go wrong with any of these guys. If I had to choose, Jalen Walker, not going to be there at 15 though, Chase. You're going to have to trade up for that kind of guy, and we don't have a lot of draft picks, but he might be worth it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you find a guy, go get your guy. I don't think, I mean, listen, we've seen a guy like Trayvon Walker who was kind of talked as a 10 pick and then all the way come draft time be a number 1 pick. That could easily be Jalen Walker. But there's some guys that believe Jalen Walker's a tweener. They don't know if he's a true off-ball linebacker, if he's a true passer. So I can tell you what he is. He's a football player. And that's what Kirby Smart breeds. And that's what the Philadelphia Eagles realized when they started taking all of these Georgia Bulldogs. These guys have a mindset that you only learn from Kirby Smart at the University of Georgia, who has been the best at producing NFL talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Listen, create a Georgia to Atlanta pipeline. The defense will be fixed in a couple of years. I'm a genius.
Yeah. He solved all of the worries. See a lot of Falcons fans worried about, it's got to be a pass rusher. It's got to be a pass rusher's people. There's two facets to a successful pass rush. There's the pressure, which is the pass rushers, and then there's the coverage on the back end. It's a yin and yang thing. You can't do one without the other. Malachi Starks is the kind of guy next to Jesse Bates that can make some of the pass rushers on the Falcons already better. And perhaps we need somebody in the slot, in that nickel role. In today's NFL, it is a starting role, and he played a little bit of that at Georgia for Kirby Smart. If he can fill both of those roles, Chase, two birds, one stone.
And now let's talk a little bit about what Terry Fontenot said about Kyle Pitts, because there was a report coming out this week from 92.9 The Game that the Falcons are 1,000% open to moving Kyle Pitts potentially this offseason if the right deal comes onto the table. What do you think about that?
I want to say this. I want to preface before I answer your question. I'm sorry, Chase. Can we just say he hasn't been good enough? You know, Terry Fontenot's talking about unrealistic expectations. What about the expectations for the guys that were drafted behind him? Jamar Chase, Pat Surtain, Penei Sewell, Micah Parsons. All those guys are living up to the billing. In fact, I would argue they're on a Hall of Fame trajectory. That seems past the billing, in my opinion.
Let me tell you, there is no doubt that Kyle Pitts, as of this moment, and it's going to take a lot of saving because I don't think there's any way he gets to a second contract, and I'll get into the reason why. There's no reason the Falcons should even consider it, no matter what happens, if he even goes off this next season. Because of all those guys you named. Listen, you can miss on a quarterback with the 4th overall pick because, you know, it's the hardest position in the sport to get right. Even in the top 10, it's like less than 50% that you hit on that guy. That's embarrassing enough. When you miss on a position player, specifically a tight end, that you went out and did this goofy thing and tried to outsmart everyone. It's like, oh, it's never been done, but we know what we're doing. We zig when everybody else zags, and they continually do this, and it keeps biting them. That is embarrassing. It is the worst pick. And then you named all the guys, the Jamar Chase. These guys are future Hall of Famers. Like, they didn't just miss out on some all-pros, like 1 year off, a Pro Bowler here, a Pro Bowler. They missed off on like 5 All-Pros, guys that are good on the fast track to the Hall of Fame for Kyle Pitts.
I think a lot of Falcons fans are done with Kyle Pitts, and I think it has even more to do with the lack of production. It has to do with the effort. On any given Sunday, you can look at Kyle Pitts, and it doesn't even look like he's trying. I mean, this idiot right here drinking a beer on the couch is going, what is that guy doing? And I think that is the Falcons fans and maybe the Falcons' biggest issue with Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I don't know how you can watch on Sundays because you see the plays, right? You see the plays where it's like, oh, did he just give up on that route, man? Come on, you're 6'5" and you can run this 4.4. Why are you giving up? Just like give a full effort. You might be able to make that play. And you see those, and that's what really frustrates you. But what really frustrates me is when you see him run these routes because they are all lazy, unless he's running a straight vert where he doesn't have to do much. All these routes are so. This guy's been in the league for 5 years. He's played college football. Like the fact that you haven't developed a better route tree with your athletic abilities, there's no reason for that. That means you're not practicing hard enough. You're not trying hard enough. Like the lack of effort is evident in the details. And if you're not trying on Sundays, man, you are not trying on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But Alex, I want to say, you know what makes people? You know what makes people try? Money. And it's a contract year. So if there was ever a year where Kyle Pitts was about to say, you know what, Am
I hanging on to the dream still? I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the combine in Indianapolis going on right now. My brain is just reverting back to when Kyle Pitts was tearing it up a few years ago. But I'm hanging on to a dream, Chase. I'm just hanging on. Maybe he finds that connection with Michael Penix. I don't know.
I think if there's any way that he has a good season, it has a lot to do with a contract year. And I think that would make a lot of people try harder. If you know, hey, I go and get 1,200 yards, I might make $45 million. So we'll see what happens. Coming up after the break, could Joel Embiid be a future trade target for the Hawks? And Brave spring training news and notes.